Hello everyone, welcome back to your CMA Inter Law lectures. This is your third lecture for your CMA Inter Law. We have already done two lectures, one on introduction and definitions and the another one on offer and acceptance. So please make sure if you haven't watched those lectures, please first go and watch those lectures, complete your notes, complete your notebooks. Only after that you watch this lecture, only then it would be beneficial, okay? So yes, let's start with today's topic. This lecture is going to be about void agreements and consideration, both the topics, okay? Let's start with void agreements. Now, first of all, landing upon the meaning, void agreements actually means something which is not going to take effect in law. That means such kind of agreements are invalid in law and it cannot be enforced under law. That means I would write it over here. These agreements, just a second, there's a technical error. These agreements cannot take effect in law, cannot be enforceable or enforced, or cannot take effect in law, cannot take effect in law, These are not enforceable. That means you cannot ever enforce such kinds of contracts. So you can't enter into such kind of contracts. Even if you enter into such kinds of contract, it will be considered to be void. That is, it won't take any effect under law. Okay. Now, there are some agreements which are from the very beginning, from the very start, declared to be void by the Indian Contract Act. Okay, so there are some contracts which is from the very beginning, because of its nature, they are expressly declared to be void, that these contracts are void, do not enter into them. Even if you enter into such kind of contract, it won't be valid. It won't be ever valid. Okay, let's see such kind of contract. Now, no need to read it from here because we'll get each and every point over here. Like, see, if consideration and objects are unlawful in part, this is your first point. If you see the seconds, without consideration, the second one, you'll get it over here. So everything is described in detail, so there's no need to actually read it from there. So we'll be understanding it from here only. Okay. Let's see. The first one, first kind of contract that is considered to be unlawful in law, or it is considered to be void in law. Let's see. Considerations and objects are unlawful in part. See, if it's entirely unlawful, then it won't be allowed in law. Matlab, if you are dealing on something which is not legal, which is illegal, which is unlawful, then you cannot effect it under law. That's a very obvious point. However, if it is unlawful in part, that means part of the activity or part of the contract, some part of the contract is a valid one. However, the other part of a contract is not a valid one and it's an unlawful one. In that scenarios, what would happen? We are going to see it. Let's see. The consideration, that is something what you are given in exchange, and the objects, that is the motive for which you have carried on the contract, are unlawful in part. In part means not the entire, but a little part of the whole contract, some part of the whole contract. Let's see. Section 24 provides that if any part of a single consideration for one or more objects, it means any part means from the whole, any part if you take it out, of a single consideration, there must be only one consideration for the entire part. For the entire part, if there is one consideration for one or more objects, that means the objectives of carrying out such contract are more than one, probably more than one or more, either one or more. However, the consideration which is being given is only one, or any one or any part of one of several considerations for a single object, or the objective is single. However, the considerations are in parts, many of the consideration, like previously it was only one consideration, now there are many considerations. If the object is unlawful, the agreement is void. Entire agreement will be void. Now to understand this thing, we'll understand it with the example. Let's see. A promised to superintend on behalf of B a legal manufacturer of indigo and an illegal traffic in other articles. Now what is happening? Please concentrate. This is A. Okay. Now new I have started from here. Make sure you notice this, or probably I'll erase only. I'll just erase so there's no scope of doubts for you. Okay. Yes, better. Let's see. This is A, Mr. A, and this is Mr. B. Now, who is B? He is a legal manufacturer. Legal manufacturer. That means he manufactures. Sorry. Legal manufacturer. I can't write over here. I don't know what's the problem. Legal manufacturing. Okay. He's a legal manufacturer of what? Of indigo. Indigo. Indigo is a type of plant or something you can imagine. So he's what? He's a legal manufacturer of indigo. Indigo. Okay. He's a legal manufacturer. And along with that, he is also, along with that, I'm writing the wrong thing in the red and the correct thing is written in the blue. So he's a legal manufacturer. That is enough. Okay. That is well and good. He can do that. However, he is an illegal. He is an illegal. See, it's given over here. He is an illegal. He does illegal trafficking. Trafficking means like we say in a drug trafficking and all. That buying and selling, unauthorized buying and selling is actually called as trafficking. So he also does illegal trafficking in other articles. Other articles could be anything like drugs or something which is not allowed legally in India or in any country to sell or buy from any other person. So he is also a legal manufacturer plus A. So here are two objects. Here there are two objects. Okay, I'll write this thing. There are two objects. Okay, there are two objects. Now, A promises to superintend on behalf of. Superintend means manage. Superintend means manage. Manage on behalf of B. Now, A agrees कि on your behalf, for you, I am going to manage your legal manufacturing of indigo as well as I am also going to manage your illegal trafficking of other articles also. Now, see over here. B promises to pay A salary of rupees 10,000 a year, and for this B is going to give consideration to A, which is rupees 10,000. 10,000. Now, okay, I'm so sorry. I was writing 1 lakh actually. 10,000. Okay, 10,000. Now over here, if we see, there is a single consideration, I could say 10 lakh he is getting for both the objects. For both the objects he is getting 10,000. So here is a single consideration. Single consideration for two objects. For two objects. We should again read our liner. We should again read it. If any part of a single consideration, this is a single consideration, and part of it, that means half of it, is being paid for one or more objects, Here there are two objects and out of which one is illegal. That means the contract should be void. Let's read what is given. A promises to superintend, that is manage on behalf of B. He is going to manage on behalf of B a legal manufacture of indigo. He is going to legally manufacture indigo as well as illegal trafficking in other articles also he is going to manage, for which B is paying him a salary of 10,000 a year. The agreement is void. Obviously, the object of A's promise and the consideration for B's promise being in part unlawful. These are in part unlawful because this object is definitely valid. Legally manufacturing indigo is valid. I'll write over here. This legally manufacturing of indigo is definitely going to be valid. However, illegal trafficking is going to be invalid. Invalid. So only the part of the consideration, that is only part of this object or the part of consideration, because 10,000 is a clubbed up consideration for the entire thing, for the entire contract, not only for one thing, it's for both the things. So since it is for both the things, so it is invalid, it is unlawful in law, so such kind of a contract will be void in law. This section has no application to a contract which is a single contract and who has no contingent part. This section is not applicable to such contract which has only a single part, because if it has a single part, if it's unlawful, it's going to be entirely void. If it's a single contract, if it's legally acceptable in the country or legally valid in the country, it's not going to be void. So this section has nothing to do with it. But if your object or your consideration, any one of the same, is partly illegal or partly unlawful, the entire contract will be deemed to be unlawful, or the entire contract will be deemed to be void. So this is your first example, the very first example where your contract is void. Where your contract is void. That means it won't take effect under law. Okay. Let's move on to the second one. Next one. agreements without consideration. Now listen to this very carefully. Agreements without consideration. Now, when I was teaching you the hierarchy of contracts, then I teach you first there is an offer. Offer meets up with acceptance, which makes it a promise. Okay. Nextly, there has to be some sort of consideration. Promise plus there has to be some sort of consideration to make it an agreement. And later on, when agreement is clubbed up, is actually joined up with enforceability, that means it can be enforced in law, it makes up a contract. Does this mean that consideration is a very essential part of a contract? Also, when we read about the essential elements of a contract, we read that consideration should be present, consideration should be there. So we have already seen this, that consideration should be there in such kind of contract. So if there is any agreement which lacks consideration, where there is no consideration, there is no contract. Where there is no consideration, there is no contract. I'll write this line over here. No consideration means no contract. Okay, no consideration means no contract. If there is no consideration, there won't be any contract. Let's see. Agreements without consideration. Section 25 provides that agreement made without consideration is void. First we'll read till here only. If there is any agreement which is made without consideration, it would be void. Unless means exceptions. Matlab, in these three cases, these are the exceptions. It means even in these three contracts, if there is no consideration, still these would be valid. In any of these, there is or, there's no and. That doesn't mean that you'll have to abide by the complete three of the points. Any one of the point. If there is any one of the point, matlab out of these three, if any of is the situation, in that case, even if there is no consideration, zero consideration, still it will be deemed to be a valid contract. Okay. Now see how we are going to write this thing. I'm taking a fresh area, so that's why I'm just excluding this thing over there. Yeah, let's see. The rule is, I'll write over here. What's the rule? The rule is actually there must be mandatory, must be consideration in contract. That means it's mandatory. It's mandatory that consideration must be present. It should be present in the contract. Okay? It should be present. Now it means meaning if contract is made without consideration, it will be void. It will be void. Simply it will be void. Okay? However, there are certain exceptions to this. Now, exceptions means that in these cases, even if consideration is not present, still it would be valid. This means that if there is no consideration, we assume that there is no contract as such. Matlab, we can't constitute a contract without having consideration. But however, there are certain exceptions to the rule that even if there is no consideration in these type of contract, still it will be considered to be a valid contract. Let's see what are those exceptions. First we'll read, then we'll write. Okay. So let us see first. over here. Okay, we'll read it one by one and only then we'll go to write it. Let's see the first one. It is in writing and registered. That means it is in writing and registered. Along with that, it is expressed in writing and registered under the law for the time being in force for the registration of document, and is made on account of natural love and affection between the parties standing in near relation to each other. Near relation to each other. This means that the very first exception is that it should be, just a second, there's a little technical error. It is made out of natural love and affection. Natural love and affection. Natural love and affection. Okay. Now this natural love and affection should be between people who stand in near relation to each other. This is also very important. Who stand in near relation to each other. So this love and affection should be between. Just now, it is made out of natural love and affection between people standing in near relation. People standing, people standing in near relation. In near relation to each other. And also they are standing in near relation to each other and should be in writing, and it must be registered. Writing plus registered. Okay. So first of all, it is made out of natural love and affection between the people in near relation, and it should be in writing and should be in registered. I'll give you an example. These things are better understood with example only, so it's better to take example for everything. Okay. Imagine this to be your grandfather. Okay. Dadaji. Grandfather means Dadaji. Okay. This is your father and this is you. Okay. Your grandfather, father and the son. Okay. Just a second, I'll make the arrows also between these people. First one and the second one. Okay. Now imagine your grandfather passes on some property to your father. Your grandfather is passing on some property. Passes some property to your father. Some property to your father. Matlab, that property was possessed by your grandfather. It was under him. He had purchased him, but now he's transferring it to your father. The same property is later on transferred to you by your father. Okay. Your father also passes the same property to you. Okay. Over here, in this type of a contract between father and son, see, the father is giving something to the son. I'll write over here, the father is giving something to the son. That is the property. Does he charges for the same? Is he going to take any sort of consideration for the same? Obviously no. You won't charge anything to your son, right? Matlab, you are giving him the property and you are telling him, nahi son, you'll have to give me the money for this, you'll have to pay for this. That's not the case over here. Okay, you can't charge your son. So you are giving this. The father is giving to his son out of, please concentrate now, out of natural love and affection. There is a natural love between father and son. There is a natural bond between father and son, because of which this transaction is being made between the people standing in near relation. Now this is very important. People should be in near relation. Doesn't mean you are transferring something to your friend or something to a stranger and you are saying this is out of natural love and affection. No, that's not natural love and affection. The natural love and affection as it stands should be between near relation peoples who are in relation to each other. Now father and son, grandfather and father, grandfather and grandson, these are in near relations to each other. Your family is in near relation to each other. So if this property is being passed with near relation to each other, if it's in writing and if it's registered under the law, there is a registration of documents law in this country by which you'll have to register every of these documents. So it's registered, it's in writing, it's out of natural love and affection, and it's in near relation. All 4 conditions are mandatory. All the 4 conditions that I've highlighted, it's mandatory. Natural love and affection, near connection of the people, in writing and registered. In that situation, even when there is no consideration, look over here, look at the transaction. Look at the transaction. There is no consideration. No consideration. Only property is being transferred. In exchange for that, nothing is being taken. I'm only giving. There's nothing that I'm taking. There is no consideration. Nothing is taken over here. No consideration is present. No consideration is present. Still it is valid. Still the contract is valid. Still the contract is valid. It's valid. The law says if there is no consideration, it would be invalid. However, this is an exception. This is an exception to the law that in this situation, even when there is no consideration, still it will be considered as valid. Okay. Make sure that every time I write something, you just pause out the video and note it down. Please make sure. Please write along with me. That would be very beneficial for you guys. Okay. So let's read the next one. Next one. Let's see the next one. If a promise to compensate for something done, if it is a promise to compensate for something done, that is already something has been done, now you are compensating someone. It is a promise to compensate wholly or in part a person who has already voluntarily done something for the promisor or something which the promisor was legally compellable to do. What this means now, if someone has voluntarily done something for you by their own, there was no contract, there was no such obligation on him to do such thing, but he has done it. Matlab, he has done it for you so that you do not suffer any kind of loss or something. So he has done that same thing for you. He has done or carried out something for you by the very voluntary nature. Voluntarily, matlab no one compelled him to do so. However, he on his own voluntarily did that thing. Even in that situation, without any consideration, the contract will be valid. I'll give you another example of this. Okay, I'll give you voluntary act. Voluntary act of a party. Voluntary act of a party. Say for example, this is a person Mr. A and this is a person Mr. B. Okay. Now the situation is that B has lost his wallet. B has lost his wallet. B has already lost his wallet. Matlab he does not have his purse, his wallet, and he had cash, credit cards, debit cards, identity cards in his wallet, but he has lost it. Okay. Now A found such wallet. A found such wallet. He had found such wallet. Okay. And referring to the identity card or referring to the address in it, he actually went to B and returned it. Matlab something is done voluntarily over here. He voluntarily returned it to B. Voluntarily he went out over there and he returned the wallet to B. Okay. After some time B realized that I have to pay something to A because he have returned my wallet, and in the exchange he returns him rupees 100. For this his gratuitous act, he has done something so much beneficial for me. So out of gratitude for someone or out of my thankful nature, I want to thank him. I have given him rupees 100. Now giving 100 for something which is already mine. He's not selling it to me. Please remember, don't think ma'am, here to consideration is there now because one party is giving wallet, another party is giving 100 rupees. That wallet was not his. It is mine. It was not of A. It is mine only. My thing has been returned to me and I am paying consideration for it. There is no sale. This is not sale. Your sale is not taking place. This is not sale. not sale. This is not sale. Someone is voluntarily doing something for me, returning something to me, and I am paying something for it. So there is only one consideration. There is only one consideration. This is this. One consideration. One consideration. That means I am paying rupees 100 to A without anything. A hasn't sold anything to me. There is no consideration from A. Here there is no consideration from A. No consideration. No consideration from A. No consideration from A. From A. Nothing. B is getting nothing from A. It was his wallet. It was B's wallet that has been returned to him. He lost it by mistake and it has been returned to him. This is not a selling transaction. This is not a sale. This is not a selling transaction. Only something which was lost by mistake is being returned. However, B is giving rupees 100 for that. So there is no consideration on part of A. Nothing is being done. This is only a one-sided contract. So it should have been invalid. It should have been void. However, in law, this is an exception. This is an exception. So still it will be considered valid. Still the contract is valid. The contract is valid. Still it is valid. Still the contract is valid. Okay. Also note down the second example, please. Make sure you note down the second example as well. Just a second. Yes. Let's see the next one, the third one. A promise to pay a time barred debt by the limitation law. Now this also you will have to understand. Okay. Promise to pay a time barred debt by the limitation law. First I'll explain and then we'll read, because this is a little hard one. So it's better that I first explain it to you and only then we will read it from there. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's move over here. Make sure you note all the three examples. Huh? Okay, I'm swinging from here to there. Give me a second, please. I'm not able to find the correct place. Give me a second, please. Okay, right. So I'll give you the third example over here. Okay, listen up the third example. Okay, now this is your third example. Third example, debt barred by Limitation Act. Limitation Act. Debt which is barred by Limitation Act. Okay, let's see this one. Now assume a situation where this is Ram and this is Lakshman. Okay, Ram and Lakshman. Now Ram has sold some goods to Lakshman. Ram has actually sold some goods to Lakshman. I'll write over here, sold goods. Sold goods to Lakshman. Now these are worth rupees 1000. Worth rupees 1000. Ram has sold some goods to Lakshman which are worth rupees 1000. Which are worth rupees 1000. So in this situation, Lakshman is obliged to pay. There is a duty on Lakshman. Lakshman is obliged to pay. Rupees 1000. It is his duty. It is Lakshman's duty to actually pay rupees 1000 to this. Okay. Now say for example Lakshman defaults. Defaults. Okay. Now if Lakshman defaults, Ram has a right to file a case against Lakshman, right? Because Ram is the creditor in this case who should get the payment. Creditor is someone who's going to receive the payment and Lakshman is the debtor. Okay, sorry. Yeah. From the point of view which you see now, these things will change. Like for Lakshman, Ram is the creditor. However, for Ram, Lakshman is the debtor. For Ram, Lakshman is the debtor, and for Lakshman, Ram is the creditor. Okay, we have seen this situation. Okay, now Ram can case a file. What Ram can do now? Ram can file a case. I'll write it over here in this color, purple color. Now Ram has a right. Ram has a right to file a case. To file a case against Lakshman. Okay, he has a right to file a case against Lakshman to recover rupees 1000, so that he can recover rupees 1000. However, there is a law in India. The name of the law is Limitation Act. Now what this law does now, there is a law in India, Limitation Act. It provides you the time limit within which you can file a case. Okay, this provides you a time limit within which you can file a case. Why is it so, ma'am? This is because, see, now our courts like High Court, Supreme Court, District Courts, they are already burdened with plenty of cases. Like there are, I could say lakhs or crores of cases which are still pending. Now, if you actually crib out something which is very, very old, like for example, 10 years, 12 years old cases, you are taking it out now, there is it's very difficult to actually analyze the case, to actually assume what were actually the facts of the case, to actually analyze such case would be very, very difficult. So the Limitation Act gives you a proper time limit for different types of cases. This type of case can be filed in this much years. This type of case can be filed in this much years. Like for example, if it's a consumer protection case, like for example, you bought a packet of chips and you got an insect inside it, and you want to file a case against the company. Like for example, you get a Lay's chips or you get a Balaji chips and you want to file a case against Balaji, then you have 2 years of time. Consumer cases, you get 2 years of time. In 2 years, you can file the case. 2 years from the incidents. Same ways, if it's a debt, if it's a debt, like this is a debt, goods are sold and debt is to be recovered, Limitation Act provides you a time of 3 years. This simply means if you want to file a case, this means that if Ram wants to file a case, he can file it in 3 years. After 3 years, he won't get any right to file a case against Lakshman. Once 3 years expire, or once the time period of 3 years has gone, now there is no right to actually file a case against Lakshman. So if I would write it as this, if case is not filed in 3 years, Ram has no right. Okay, this is called time barred debt. That means time has stopped the debt. The debt is being stopped by time. Time barred debt. The time, Limitation Act, the time has stopped us from recovering such debt. So 3 years has passed and Ram haven't filed any case because he forgot about it, and now 1000 rupees is lost. But imagine now something happens. Now what happens? Lakshman feels guilty about it. Now something happens that now Lakshman feels guilty about it. Lakshman feels guilty. He does not like it. I took actually material or goods from Ram, but I did not pay him the money. So he is feeling a little guilty. He feels guilty, but he does not have much money. So he promises Ram to pay rupees 700 as full consideration, to treat him as full consideration. Now I do not have entire 1000 rupees, but something is better than nothing, so I promise you to pay 700. Now what is the situation? After 3 years, what is the situation? I'll draw it again. Now the situation is this is Ram and this is Lakshman. This is Ram and this is Lakshman. And Ram is getting rupees 700 from Lakshman. He is getting rupees 700 from Lakshman. Okay? Getting rupees 700. Ram is getting rupees 700 for Lakshman, for which he is not paying anything, for which he is not giving anything. Please do not say, ma'am, he gave goods 3 years back, so this is a compensation for that. No. the 3 years previously, the transaction which was carried out has been cancelled by the court of law. They have cancelled this transaction. This transaction is no longer effective. No longer effective. It is no longer effective. It has gone now. It's no longer effective because 3 years has expired. Now this is a new transaction. If you talk about this transaction, it's a new one. It's a new transaction. It's a new transaction wherein Lakshman is agreeing, or Lakshman has agreed to pay rupees 700 to Ram. Lakshman is agreeing to pay rupees 700 to Ram, for which he is getting no consideration. There is no consideration. This is also only a one-sided contract. This is only a one-sided contract. Like in first case, only the property was passing from father to the son. Nothing was passing from son to father. In our second case, only B was giving some sort of compensation to A. A was giving nothing because the wallet was of B only. On the same lines over here, Lakshman is giving rupees 700 to Ram, for which he is not getting anything. So here there is no consideration. No consideration from Ram. No consideration from Ram. So if there is no consideration, we should have treated the contract as void. However, Indian Contract Act has given us to this in exception. So this contract will be valid. This contract is still valid. This contract is still valid. Still valid. Now when I say this contract, I mean this one. I mean it to be this one. This one, wherein Lakshman is paying rupees 700 to Ram and he gets nothing about it. This is time barred debt by limitation act. Time barred yani it has been stopped. The debt has been stopped now. Now you have no right against it. The debt has been stopped. It has been stopped by the limitation act. Limitation act is a law. This is a law. I'll highlight this also. This is a law which actually provides us with the timeline. It actually gives us a proper timeline within which a case for a particular topic or particular thing is to be filed. Clear? Please pause the lecture over here and note down the third example as well. Stop the lecture over here and just note down the third example. Just a second. You guys note down? I'll just go to the entire page. Now let's read this one, the third one. We haven't read it. It is a promise made in writing and signed. It is a promise made in writing and signed, means it is in writing also and it is signed also by the person to be charged herewith by his agent, generally special authorized in behalf, to pay wholly or in part a debt of which the creditor might have enforced payment but for the law of the limitation of suits. Matlab, the person to whom it is due, the creditor, might have filed the case, but because law of limitation stopped him, so he could not move forward and he could not file the case. So for that reason it has been stopped. So that also you can make over here. This promise can also be enforced by law even if there is no consideration. So these three are the examples. In these cases, in all of these three cases, even when there is no consideration, there can be contract. There still can be contract. Or else apart from this, if you leave these three cases and a few more, there are like 2 or 3 more, these cases if you leave it aside now, apart from these, all the transactions in which there is no consideration are going to be void. Okay, let's see. In any of these cases, such an agreement is a contract. Let's see. To this section provides that nothing in this section shall affect the validity as between the donor and donee of any gift actually made. Donor and donee, this is right, E. In case of gift is also an exception. If you gift something to someone, like if you are giving a priceless or something which is very costly to someone, you won't charge them of it. If you are giving the gift, happy birthday, now it's for like 5,000, please pay me 5,000. You're not going to do that. So in gifts also, there is only from one side. You're giving something, but you're not taking any sort of consideration from them. Still it is valid. Okay. The person who gives the gift is called donor. Donor. I'll write it over here. Person who gives the gift. Person who gives the gift. Gives the gift. And the person who accepts it. Donee is something who accepts it. Accepts it. So there is no consideration. Still it is a valid contract. Okay. The next one, to this section provides that an agreement to which the consent of the promisor is freely given is not void merely because the consideration is inadequate, but the inadequacy of the consideration may be taken into account by the courts in determining the question whether the consent of the promisor was freely given. Now what this happens now, see, even if the the only point is that consideration must be present. If there is no consideration, there won't be any contract, right? Like I have written over here also, no consideration is equals to no contract. This doesn't means, I'll write it over here, this does not mean that consideration should be appropriate or adequate. This doesn't mean, even if it's inadequate, there is consideration, that's enough. Like for example, I have a pen of about 500 rupees. Imagine that this pen, because we can write it, use this for writing on laptops, and this is not a normal pen. So I have this pen for 1000 rupees. Okay, I have this pen and this is for 1000 rupees. Still I choose to sell it for rupees 10 to someone. Yeah, this is for 1000 rupees. Still I choose. That's my wish. Still I choose to sell it for rupees 10 rupees to someone. This contract won't be invalid because there is inadequate consideration. This contract is still going to be valid. It is always going to be valid. This is because even if it's for 1000 rupees, it's on my wish. It's on me whether I want this to be want to sell this for 10 rupees or 1 rupee or 2 rupee or any amount of money. Only consideration should be present. However, the free consent should be there. That means if I'm selling this 1000 rupee pen for 10 rupees, it should be because of my consent. Nobody should force me to do it. Free consent is an essential element of a contract and it should be present. So courts will ignore the fact that there is inadequate consideration, but it may consider this fact in actually finding out whether the consideration was free or not. If tomorrow I file a case that no, the consideration was not free, I did not want it to sell it for 1000 rupees, the point that the consideration was so inadequate that the 1000 rupees thing was sold for 10 rupees, this fact will be considered by court. Even if the consideration is inadequate, it won't affect your contract will still be valid. However, this fact will be considered by court in determining whether your consent was freely given or not. Only this point is given in explanation 2. Okay. Moving on, here are certain examples. I think you can read this on your own. There are certain examples. How you have to read, I'll give you an example. Like you have to read from here. A promises for no consideration to give B rupees 1000. A is promising to pay rupees 1000. However, there is no consideration from B. Will this contract be valid? No, because I have given you only 3 exceptions. Apart from that, I have given you one point that gift is also an exception, and the 5th point I have given you that even if there is inadequate consideration, that will do. However, there was no such point like this, even if there is no consideration, that means there is no contract. So see, this is a void agreement. It's given over here. It's a void agreement, right? Like this you have to read and you have to identify whether this is a valid agreement or a void agreement. Then check the answers. And if you are not able to identify, I've already told you that you can email me your doubts. So if there's anything that you haven't understood over here, so that thing you can ask me. Okay. All of these are examples and I think you can read this on your own and you'll understand also, I think. Okay. Still, if you have any doubt, please feel free to email me. You can email me and I'm going to solve all your doubts. Okay. Now let's move on to the third one. Okay. Please don't forget what we are reading or learning. We are actually studying the topic that some contracts are initially void in law. That means they are void from the very beginning in the law. So first one we read, which is actually the consideration or the object is unlawful in parts, that's invalid. Next one was if there is no consideration, it's invalid. However, there were 3 certain exceptions to the rule. And next I am moving to the next one, that is agreements in restraint of marriage. Restraint means stopping, opposing someone. Opposing. Okay, I think the content is missing over here. Okay. There is a misprint in the module itself. The content is missing. But I will give you the consent. First we'll understand the meaning. If you stop somebody from getting married, such kind of contracts are not valid in law, right? Such kind of contracts are void in law. You cannot stop a person from marrying anyone, a person has a right to marry anyone, be it any caste, be it any religion, be it any gender also. He or she is free to marry anyone. So if you make an agreement by stopping someone to marry, stopping someone, you are restraining someone, you are stopping someone to get married, then such kind of a contract are not valid in law. However, if minors are stopped from getting married, that is valid. Okay, because in India there is a certain age limit that girls cannot get married before they are of 18 years of age, and boys can't get married until and unless they are 21 years of age. So till the time that you are minors, you can't get married. So agreements in restraint of marriage are actually void. However, except minors, if you are stopping minors from getting married, that is definitely valid. So since the content is not given you, I'll dictate it to you, or I'll specially write it over here. Agreements in restraint of marriage are void. But restraining minors is not void. And when I say not void, I mean it's valid. So if you stop the minors, that is okay. Apart from that, you can't make a contract to stop someone from marrying someone. Okay, so agreements in restraint of marriage are void, simply. So this was a simple point. Okay, let's move on to the next point, that is fourth one. Agreements in restraint of trade. Now, if you stop someone from carrying out any sort of trade, any sort of profession, or any sort of business in the country, then it is illegal, it is void. You can't stop anyone from carrying out any kind of business. You can't stop anyone. Now, there can be legal implications, like for example, if you do not have a MBBS degree, you cannot practice as a doctor. That restrictions can be placed. That is okay. However, you cannot restrict someone to trade or to carry out any sort of work or to carry out any sort of business in this country. So that is invalid. Let's see. Section 27 provides that every agreement by which one is restrained means stopped from exercising a lawful profession, anything which is actually legal in India, you are stopping them from practicing it. Trade or business of any kind is to that extent void. It is going to be void. If you are stopping anyone from entering into any contracts or from carrying on any business, carrying on any trade, carrying on a lawful profession, then this situation is going to be void. It is going to be void. However, there is again one exception. Okay, there is again one exception. I'll explain this to you. There is again one exception. Now, the point says stopping someone from carrying out any trade, business or profession is void. It is void. But there is an exception. Like we saw exceptions in consideration, the three contracts, even where there was no consideration, still it were considered to be valid. On the similar lines, but here is also an exception. Okay, you'll have to understand this exception, what they have given. See, this exception says, when a person, you must have read about selling of goodwill in partnership. In 11th and 12th, you must have read partnership accounts and you must have read about selling of goodwill. So imagine this is A and this is B, C and D. B, C and D. Okay. Now B, C and D has a firm of their own. They have a partnership firm. They have a firm. Okay. They have a firm in the name of any name you can take, like XYZ, any name. XYZ, any name they have, and they have goodwill of this firm. They think of just ending of the firm, dissolution of the firm, and they think of selling this goodwill, the goodwill of the name, to some third party. They want to sell it to someone else. So what they did is they actually sold their goodwill. Selling of goodwill is allowed. You must have read the provisions in accounts that selling of goodwill is is allowed. So what they did, they sold their goodwill. They sold their goodwill. Okay. So when they sold their goodwill, a consideration flew from A to B, C and D. He must have given some sort of consideration, because without consideration contract will not be valid. So he gave some consideration. So he is paying a amount of money, huge amount of money, I would say. He is paying a huge amount of money to B, C and D. Why? Because he wants to use the brand name, or he wants to use that goodwill. Okay. So since he wants to use that goodwill, he is paying consideration. Now imagine a scenario that A spent so much of money in purchasing the goodwill, and now if again B, C and D start doing the business in the same name, A will be in a huge loss situation. In a huge loss situation, because he just now paid a huge sum of money to B, C and D to actually purchase goodwill from them. To purchase goodwill from them and carry on the business in the name of. Why he has purchased now? To carry the business. To carry business in the name of. In name of XYZ. XYZ. In the name of them, he has carried such kind of a business. Okay. So now what the problem is, what the problem has arisen over here, or what the situation has arisen over here. Now he has paid huge money for this, but still B, C and D are still using the name. If they are still using, now A is unable, A is actually tied up, A is unable to use the name, and everyone is going, or every customer is going to go to B, C and D. In this situation, A is going to be at a huge loss. Now this is a loss situation for A. He has already paid money to buy the goodwill, still he can't use it. So in this situation, A can compel. What A can do, law has allowed this. Indian Partnership Act has also allowed this. A can compel. Compel means he can tell, he can force B, C and D to not carry on business. Not carry on business. Either in this area, I would write either in this area, like specific area. Say for example, a limit of area, a city or a state. That's it. You can't tell him कि पूरे world में ही जाके business मत करो. You can't say that. Some reasonable specified area you can keep. This area, that is some reasonable area, or some reasonable time. Say for example, 2 years, 5 years. You can't do the business. Now here. A is actually stopping B, C and D from doing such kind of a trade or doing such kind of a business, and stopping someone from carrying out any business is actually void in law. However, this is an exception, because I've wrote but. So this is an exception where if a person who has bought up goodwill from the other partners, if he stops the other partners from carrying out the same business, then this will be considered as valid. This will be considered as valid because this is an exception in the law. Even likewise, now people have these contracts whereby they stop their partners from carrying on any competing business for specified time. That is also valid in law. Let's see. The exception to this section, there is an exception, is saving of agreement not to carry on business of which goodwill is sold. You have already sold the goodwill. Don't carry on the same business. One who sells the goodwill of a business may agree with the buyer to refrain from carrying on a similar business. The person who is selling, that is B, C, D, will agree with the person who is buying it, that is A, to refrain, that is stop themselves from doing such kind of a business within specified local limits, some local limits, or as long as the buyer or any person delivering the good title from him carries on a like business therein. That is, as long as he is carrying on the business or some reasonable time, he can stop them. Provided that such limits appear to the court reasonable. It should be reasonable. You can't stop B, C and D from carrying out the business in the whole India or the whole world. You can't do that. Regard being had to the nature of the business. It depends on the type of the business, for the time, and what would be the reasonable time or what would be the reasonable area. It all depends upon the nature of the agreement. Done. Please also note down this by stopping up the video and also read up the point. Okay. Now we have to move on to the next point. But I think we'll continue the next point in the next lecture, because it's already time. It will take time to upload. So yeah, I'll continue the next point in the next lecture. So do watch till here and wait till the next lecture, and I'll complete the remaining points of the same topic in the next lecture. Okay. Right. Thank you so much everyone. If you guys have any doubt, you can email me on jain.rajshri, RAJSHRI 7 @gmail.com. So you can ask all your doubts over there and it will be resolved in like 2 days. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll meet you all in the next lecture. Have a great day till then. Bye.